So this is the Sony A7 III full frame 24 megapixel camera. It's a beast of a camera. I've had it for a few years. I absolutely love this thing. I'm going to give you a quick rundown, show you my favourite features, and then tell you about a couple of things maybe I would change or would have hoped for. I've had it for several years. I use it for a wide range of photography, from astrophotography, deep sky stuff, macro photography, as well as more standard sort of landscape and people photography as well. And it covers all those things really, really well. And it's got a huge range of not just Sony lenses, a sort of almost endless choice of lenses from Sony, but now quite a lot of third-party lenses that integrate seamlessly with it. So you've got absolutely no end of choices for your lenses. Right now I've just got the very versatile Sony 24 to 105 millimeter lens, which is kind of a really good one size fits all lens. So if we take a look at the camera here, obviously at the top, like any sort of high-end mirrorless camera, we've got a number of modes from full manual, auto, everything in between, such as aperture and shutter priority, programmable modes, your movie modes, S&Q, so on, exposure compensation buttons. You've got your customization buttons, and of course your general sort of trigger button here. And on the back you've got some quick access menus, obviously, to get into your media library, delete and so on. But if you use the wheel, you can access various things such as your drive mode, control your ISO settings, and change the display mode. So depending on your preference, you can have the histogram, you can have the level, so on and so forth. The good thing about pretty much all of the buttons on this camera is you can customize them. So if you don't want, like the way it is in default, you can go into the menu here and pretty much set it up any way you want, and that can actually, you can change customizations depending on the actual mode you're in. So you can set up one set of customizations for manual mode, and you can actually set up a completely different one, for example, if you want to have your movie mode. So that's really, really useful. What is amazing about this camera, it takes two memory cards, and the way in which you actually get the camera to work can vary hugely. So you can get it basically to fill up one card and then seamlessly move on to the next one. You can record to both cards simultaneously, just so you're kind of backing yourself up, and indeed you can record, for example, one taking raw photos, one taking JPEG, and all of that again can be controlled within your menu. Obviously just a record button there, so if you're in any kind of non-movie mode, you can still actually start recording. One of the things you would change about it is there is an app that goes with it, and it's not well regarded among photographers. The app is pretty lousy, doesn't work that well. The connectivity between the app and the camera is really sort of shaky as well. When you compare it to, let's say, the action camera world, things like DJI and GoPro and Insta360, they have these amazing apps that give you such a great user experience. That is one of the things where this really falls short. Also, where it kind of first appears to fall short is the menu. It kind of looks a bit old school, but it's easy to get lost in this menu until you kind of start figuring your way around it. It's absolutely huge. It just goes to show there's so much you can adjust and so much you can customize with this camera. So all importantly, we can shoot raw photos, and as I said before, you can shoot just JPEG or RAW and JPEG, your choice entirely. You can obviously change compression, quality and all that kind of stuff, aspect ratios, color space. One of the things I really enjoy using is the interval shoot function. That's really, really good for time lapses, and if you're doing any astrophotography, you can just set that up. You can completely customize your shooting time, shooting interval, number of shots. You can literally set this thing to take thousands of photos and just let it go. One sort of limitation of the interval shooting function is you are limited to exposures of 30 seconds only. If you want to go above that, you will have to use a sort of external shutter release or something like that. There's not many situations where you're going to need exposures longer than 30 seconds. The only one I can think of really is sort of deep sky astrophotography or tracked astrophotography. So that is really useful and will cover most scenarios. And the list goes on. We end up in the movie menu. Again, you can choose the full 4K format. You can change your frame rate. So this thing, if you go down to the S&Q settings, you can get 100 frames per second. So that's effectively 4 times slow motion. That's really, really useful. All sorts of additions and, you know, things to help you with focus, and you can change your the tracking sensor, the autofocus speed. So you can actually use it to get these really nice sort of focus pulls. You can get your zebras, your focus peaking signals, all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really geared towards taking really good quality video. So it's a really great all-round camera. As I say, I'll use it for, you know, a wide enough range of photography. There's probably a good test for any camera, as I say, from deep sky astrophotography to sort of close-up macro photography and everything in between. In my using it, the one thing I would sort of think is lacking, it doesn't have animal eye auto sensor, it only has human eye detection. And in my use, I've heard a lot of sort of raving about how good the autofocus is on it. Yes, unless, in my opinion, you're doing like wildlife photography, and now I've actually found the autofocus. Generally, as I say, it's not geared towards tracking animals. It doesn't have any animal eye detection, and it generally doesn't. It's not quick enough for that. So if you're really purely going for wildlife photography, that might be one thing that puts you off. There's not much more I can say against the thing. It is really, really good camera all round. Say 24 megapixels. That's really going to be big enough for most people, unless you're planning to print photos very large. 24 megapixels is absolutely fine. So there it is. Whew, I'm exhausted after giving you all that. I love this thing, and I hope you do too. So good luck.